Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another broadcast here from Fast Break, live for iSports Radio, your recall with sports. On tonight's show, we'll talk about do or die games in the NBA. Yesterday, we had the Nuggets being big against the Clippers. We'll discuss who's at fault for the Clippers' big-time loss and what should they do. And also, what are the chances of the Nuggets upending the Oklahoma City Thunder in the second round? Plus, the Lakers got sent out in 5. Where did they go from there? And do some players had to take cutbacks to improve the team? Also, we'll talk about the other do or die game here tonight. Warriors, Rockets, who comes on top of that matchup? We'll discuss that and much more here for Fast Break here, live for iSports Radio, your recall in sports. After these few short messages, we can go on the show. Talk to you on the other side.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clinking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. iSports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, iEsports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax_stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
Usually when I pop up like that, the mic might unmute itself. But anyways, thank y'all for tuning in. Another broadcast here for Fast Break here live for IE Sports Radio. You're Rick for sports. D-Locke supposed to join me momentarily. He had a dinner with a recruit, so he should be up here any second right now. But before he hops on, as y'all see on the scroll bar down here, follow IE Sports Radio on all your social media feeds, whether it's X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. What's the new one that's out that people barely use, but we'll hear soon because X and Twitter is kind of junk. Blue Sky. So we're on Blue Sky as well. Trying to get that ramped up more. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just look up IE Sports Radio. You will see the subscribe button. Click on that. Click on the notification button. You'll be set up for all your future alerts for all shows. So our show here and the shows that follow us after us each Sunday. So click on that YouTube, subscribe there. Do give us a follow, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. So do give us a follow on YouTube. Try to get those numbers up. The road to 1,000 is going strong right now. Like I said, TikTok, same thing. Road is going strong right now. Also, do check out iSportsRadio.com for all your news and show times, all that stuff. And also check out our own personal page, iSportsRadio.com/fastbreak. You'll see at the both our profiles there. Do give us a little love right there on our profile there. Do follow us on X/Twitter at FastBreakIESR. That's FastBreakIESR. Do follow myself at Spawn4288 on X as well. And Black-813 for D-Locke as well. Now, as I'm sitting here right now, we got the Cavs and Pacers in game one of the Eastern Conference round 2. Close game. I'm sitting there watching it. And, at first thought, I thought, I won't say the Pacers going to blow them out, but damn, they just leaving the guys open 3-point land. Turner, Siakam, Neiman, they were just knocking out threes early in the first quarter. And I thought, okay, this would be one of those games that the Pacers going to get on early. But now it's returned, the Cavs had a little run the third quarter, turned the momentum in their own favor and all that stuff. And now this game is very close that right now. Miles Turner made a layup, but did Strus get there in time for the charge? As Zarbra is explaining to us, I got the thing on mute, so if all right, okay. What's going on?
Just got in, man. Doing a little bit of recruiting, so staying busy though. But I'm here.
Yes, sir. I'm telling the people, Pacers class possibly going down to the wire with the Pacers up 114-106 with 2:31 left in the fourth. I was telling them, like, early on, the Pacers, they came out strong.
Yeah.
Neiman Turner, Siakam
Mm-hmm.
came out strong. But then, that third quarter kind of flipped on a dime for the Cavs. But one thing I give the Pacers and call out credit right there, they withstand the storm a little bit. Now that, up by 8, with 2 minutes left. So talking a lot about this game, do you think the Pacers kind of hang on this in this game one right here?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think the biggest thing that the Pacers are a very talented team.
Yeah.
I mean, what Tyrese Halliburton was. I think in that trade between the Kings, that's probably something that we overlooked a little bit. But seeing, Siakam, Miles Turner, those guys, their part is actually playing phenomenal. He's starting to come to a very, very big pickup. I want to see what more Benedict Mathurin is having a pretty decent game. They're good with the guards, and we know what TJ McConnell could do. Sometimes TJ McConnell will come out there and rob your pockets, take about 4 or 5 steals in the first half. He's known to have that defense. So I think the Pacers are definitely going to hold on to this. I think this is a team that has a slight, they're underrated a little bit. I think the biggest thing that's going to give Cavs issues is Miles Turner in the defense. He could play some defense from time to time in Siakam. But also, I think what is being overlooked a little bit is the coach, Rick Carlisle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think people forget that this guy's an NBA champion as a player and also as a coach. You know what I mean? Also coach of the year. So, and also was an NBA All-Star head coach as well. So he is, a big piece, to this team. I'm pretty sure many of us remember him being with the Pacers when the whole situation went down with Ron Artest years back against the Pistons. That's something that kind of blurs a lot. But again, we are talking about a hell of a coach, with a pretty decent roster, I might add. So this is not going to be easy. This is not going to be an easy go for the Cavs. Probably looking at the fact that Milwaukee got put out by the Pacers, they probably would think, well, hell, these are the Pacers. We might look at it, go to game 5, whatever. But the Pacers are a pretty decent team. You know what I mean? So, like I said, with Tyrese Halliburton, we talked about it so much of him not playing so much in the Olympics. A lot of us forgot about that. So he's motivated totally different than a hell of a lot more other players. But Miles Turner looking like he has a double-double, 11 boards, 13 points. Siakam is playing pretty decent. Also a double-double with Tyrese Halliburton. So watch out for this team, man. I think, and this game is at Cleveland, correct? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So, yeah, man. I think this is a team that could do a lot of damage. But this is going to be a very interesting series, man. Every time we get to the semifinals for both the East and the West, we start seeing really good matchups.
Yeah, right now, the Pacers are on a 15-4 run right now with Halliburton is making a layup right there over Jared Allen. And now we're like at a minute 35. Jared Allen missed a layup and foul call on the Pacers. If I'm looking this right. So yeah, foul call on take it back. It's on the Cavs. These refs have been awful this postseason run.
Yeah, it's been kind of up and down with a lot of these things.
And it seems like the Cleveland fans are filing out right now with the Pacers up by 10. And Halliburton sitting the trim of the air of the ball against Strus. And then Struz is backing down. We're now clicking to 3. And then foul on the floor. Seems like the foul's on Miles Turner there, on Donovan Mitchell. So we'll keep an eye on this. It seems like the Pacers may pull this out right there. D-Lock, speaking on Game 7s, well, to get keep them in the playoff spirit and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Got a couple Game 7s to discuss. First one I want to talk about, Rockets v. Warriors, the main event tonight after this Cleveland Pacers game. Simple as it can be, who do you got tonight in Game 7 in Houston?
I got the Houston Rockets. I don't want to go against Steph Curry, but I think that this Houston Rockets team is a totally different Rockets team than we've seen than Chris Paul and James Harden. Udoka there, I think, Sengun, Jalen Green, Van Fleet with the championship experience. I think this team can get a win at home. It's going to be a challenge, obviously. It is Game 7. The thing about Game 7s, obviously, we know now is, as we know, win or go home. Yeah. So, however you got here, doesn't matter. Whether you got blew out the game before, whether you won the first 3 games, whether you won the last 3 games. At this point, it comes down to just one game. Now, this is where Steph Curry is elite. And I think he's going to bring that energy. Draymond as well. But I think that this Rockets team will have that home court advantage. I think that this Rockets team does have the opportunity to get a win. I mean, I think this roster is built and the coach is there for them. Now, obviously, how could they lose? I think coaching plays a part with that. But I think the Rockets definitely get it. I think it's a close game, very physical game, which is kind of what the Warriors want. But I think the Rockets are up for it.
I don't know. This series can go a lot of ways. On one hand, you got on the Rocket side of things, you got a young roster, but a experienced coach.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it that way. Other side, we know what the Warriors are, an experienced team, championship pedigree, all that good stuff. We saw in Game 6. And I don't know if Ime Udoka is going to go to this well again, despite how good it worked. The 2 big lineup of Steven Adams and Sengun in that third quarter and beyond, especially when Dylan Brooks picked up that 4th foul and he didn't play for the rest of the game. I wonder if he's going to go to that well again early in this matchup.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about that. Like, it worked so well, but I wonder if Golden State will be ready for that. Now, having said that, some of y'all saw, if y'all follow our page here, I retweeted from our show's account that Gary Payton II is not going to play in Game 7 due to an illness.
Right.
So you losing one key player for the Warriors to help out defensively and whatnot. So you're taking that factor away. I'm not saying Gary Payton II is going to win you games, but taking that role player away and doing that situation is going to hurt. Now you lose some of that toughness. Now, with the Rockets, okay, ahead of time, okay, they lose one main defender of theirs. Now, okay, there's more pressure on them to kind of stay out of foul trouble or whatnot. So for me, like I said, it's tough going against Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler in Game 7 situation.
Right.
I will admit that. It's tough. But I think they're almost in the same boat like the Lakers, that their big man issue is going to come and bite them in the head.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can Houston take advantage of it? Can Sengun, who's been talking a lot of stuff, can he take advantage of that? I'm sure he can. But I think the Rockets will squeak out this victory. But I think in order for the Rockets to do that, Dylan Brooks has got to play sound. Can't let things get to his head. Van Fleet's got to play sound as well. take smart shots, whatever you gotta do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the young bloods like Jalen Green, Jarvis Smith, Eason, if Whitmore gets in, him as well, they come in, make their plays, make their shots. I think they'll go a long way for them as well. And just kind of contain Curry as best you can. Don't let Draymond get in your head. Whoever he interacts with, whether it's Sangoon, Steven Adams. Well, Steven Adams ain't gonna do nothing back to you anyways, but you get the point. So I think they can cool those things and stuff like that. I think the Rockets can win this game. And I think, the past couple of games, you got to question Steve Kerr's coaching. Like I said, I texted you, was like, why are you taking the starters out so early in that in the third quarter like that?
Yeah.
I was like, what we doing here? And then the role players for them, like making a comeback. So I was sitting there watching, I was like, if you put at least a couple of guys in and see what happens, you never know.
Correct.
So now you kind of go back to the game 5. Like, damn, did his coaching kind of screw himself out of potentially winning the series in 6? Maybe, maybe not. But that's something to look at if they lose this game, in my humble opinion. How would you got the Rockets winning by?
I got this being a 7-point game. I think Steph shooting is going to keep them in. They're not going to, any lead is not safe with the Warriors, especially with Steph being who he is. But I think at the end, it's going to come down to, a few calls as far as, like you said, the big man. Like, does it come down to two series game, and they can't grab any rebounds over Sangoon?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that's my 2-possession game. Like, can we? Who's going to be able to do that? Is it going to be some questionable calls from Draymond, as we always see? So for me, I think that it's going to be kind of interesting to see how it goes. But I definitely think it's a 7-point game. It comes down to some threes, unless if it's a blowout. Only way it's a blowout is if the Warriors just up by 15, 20 early and they just take over. I don't see the Houston Rockets blowing out the Warriors. Just Steph is definitely not going to let that happen, in my opinion. So I think it comes down to how much fight do the Rockets have? How bad do they want to win this series? And I think the home court advantage at this juncture helps that. This is that game 7 where you're going to need that extra, fight, that extra push from them fans to get that win. And I think this is what the Houston Rockets may end up getting. So, again, it's going to come down to coaching, but I think you have 2 experienced coaches on both ends now. So now just making sure these guys are in the right position. And, like I said, 2-possession game. I will go bold and say that somebody takes the wrong shot at the end of the game for the Warriors, which causes them moving on. But again, I think it's going to be a tight game. Steph is going to make sure it's close. But if the Warriors are clicking with everybody else, we might be seeing, like I said, a different game. But I just think that the Rockets are although they're young, I think the bigs plays a huge part, and I think they dominate.
Yeah, I think you may kind of got to point to his big man's head. Like, like y'all got to play tough tonight. I need y'all all that. I need y'all to play tough. I think if they can do that, I think they'll go a long way for the Rockets. For the Warriors, I think the starters know what they got to do. I think whoever comes off the bench tonight for the Warriors, who there may be, Kuminga. He didn't play last game. The big man names escape me right now. Let me pull it up real quick. And by the way, the Pacers hung on to win that game, 121 and 112. So they take game 1 in that series. I'm trying to pull it up. Give me a second. So yeah, Kuminga didn't even play last game. So I wonder if he gets some burns since Gary Payton's out. But guys like Quentin Post, we'll see what he does in the starting lineup. Knox, if he gets a run. Looney, he only got like 2 minutes last game. So it'll be interesting who comes up in that bench here tonight, in my humble opinion. But moving on, D-Locke, upper game 7 that happened yesterday. And a series that I kind of figured would go 7. This kind of how these teams match up. But the Nuggets took care of business at home, 120-101. They beat down the Clippers, especially in that third quarter. When they opened up that 15-0 run that third quarter, the Clippers had no answer. And Eric Gordon with Christian Braun both had 22 points in that matchup. Not the best games for Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, but didn't need to because they handled their business at home.
Right.
Your thoughts on this series going to 7 and the Nuggets closing out the series the way they did?
I'm actually not shocked that this series went to 7. I think we had talked about it before.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one of the best matchups. Remember, we talked about both of them having the same record at 50-32. Knowing that Kawhi was probably the healthiest he's been in years, the coaching played a part in this. But what we all seen again was James Harden in the playoffs, right? With so much on the line, looking at their stats, 2 for 5 field goal. 2 for 8. First of all, in 35 minutes, James Harden shot 8 shots.
Yeah.
That doesn't, at this point, that doesn't match. How in the hell Derrick Jones shot more than him? Well, I mean, no shot to him, but obviously we know who was a better scorer in that situation. 13 assists was cool. Normal power 4 for 11. That tells you a lot. Now we go to the Denver Nuggets side. Joker didn't have one of those games just an insane game. So they managed to kind of slow Jokic down. But this is why Jokic is one of the best players, if not the best player in the NBA.
Yeah.
Because you have to put so much focus on him that it makes everything else a hell of a lot easier for other players. And okay, boom, he has 10 and 16, 8 assists, which is really not a bad stat sheet for any player. It's just we've seen more from the Joker before. But along with that, Eric Gordon, as you have, 22 points, 9 for 16. Michael Porter, who we've seen sometimes come alive when he wants to, but he comes alive. Christian Braun, 21 points, 3 for 5. So because of the game plan is to slow down the Joker, all these other people are eating. Now, this is the same thing that happened when they won a championship. Same exact thing. You had to maintain the Joker, and KCP would go off. Eric Gordon would have his games. Michael Porter sometimes. So I think that this is still one of the better teams in the game. Like I said, Game 7 was a complete blowout for a while. This game was not close. Russ had even came in there and had a decent game. So for me, I think that the way that the Nuggets did handle this game, I said now, I think that's the favorite team to go to the NBA Finals on the West. I think this team is very, very well put together also with the depth that they have. Now, even though remember when they had a championship, they had Bruce Brown, they had KCP, which was a hell of a lot of defense, but they came around and moved pieces around and made their adjustments. Christian Brown has started to play when they need him to. Peyton Watson has came in and had some good games when needed. And now you bring somebody in like a Russ who can come in and grab those boards and assists from time to time, like take so much pressure off of Joe. So I think the Clippers are going to be a very tough matchup for anybody. Now, the team that I believe had the had the roster that the beat them was the Timberwolves last year, having Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. So what happens the difference this year with that? So for me, Jokic proved why he is the best player in the NBA. No shade towards SG. I know what he can do, but this is going to be a hell of a matchup between the two. So again, I think, and to look at the Clippers side, I think they had a heck of a season. The only thing I'm really worried about with them is what happens with Kawhi Leonard next year, health wise. It's so up and down. He was able to get in this playoffs and be healthy. Well, hell, he's one of those players that if you catch him healthy, you better win it all. Because you may not see it for another couple of years, or you may see a different athlete. So for me, the question is, what do the Clippers do moving forward? I think this team that they have is pretty decent, pretty good. But I think they ran into a team that can literally be in the NBA Finals that can possibly win it all. So congrats to the Nuggets. But this next series between them and the OKC, this is going to be one to watch.
I think, watching the game, whatnot, like you saw at points that, the Nuggets got up big and whatnot. And, the role players kind of come up big in the moment. Like I said, Jokic and Murray play the best games. But those other guys, Westbrook, and let me say this. Westbrook makes a comment saying that the Clippers should have kept him and whatnot and blah, 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 blah. I'll say this. Like, they gave you 2 years, man. I don't know what else you expect. It didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just let it go. I mean, you're in a decent situation with Denver. We'll see they keep you around after this year. But, like, all this talk and all this stuff, like, come on, dude. Really? But anyways, back to the game. Eric Gordon come up huge. Like, he came up huge game 4. With the tip in on that. He's been very great in this series.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the Clippers would probably snuck this series out, but I did not expect them. I expect, and go to our other topic here, I didn't expect James Harden to come out. I should have expected it, but I didn't expect to come him flat like this, scoring-wise.
Mm-hmm.
7 points like that, man. You can't come out like that. I'm sorry. Like, do-or-die situation, whatnot, he can't come out flat like that. And that's been happening a little bit too much in his career. He'll coming out flat and disappearing and winning get home situations. Kawhi, I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at the stats right now. 22 points for him. Kind of his normal stat line, 5 rebounds. Normal stat line, 2 blocks at least, 1 turnover. About straight through his numbers. Zubac, 10 points, 14 rebounds, kind of in his range. Norman Powell, 9 points. Not his best shooting night, but, could be a little bit better. Derrick Jones, 12 points for him. That's more than enough if he give you that. Bogdanovich, 12 points for him. 13 for Kobe Brown. Shout out to Huntsville. And that's all that in garbage time, by the way. So with this team, Chris Dunn, he missed open layups and whatnot. And I tweeted that. I was like, missing empty points like that going to hurt your team down the line. And granted, they got blown out, but still, you can't be missing those leaving those empty points on the floor.
Right.
So to me, if I had to blame somebody for the Clippers' loss, I got to look at Harden. It's not like that. Like most other guys showed up, but if you're going to come out and shoot and score 7 points in 35 minutes, dog, what we doing?
Exactly.
I expect that for Chris Dunn. I expect that from Kobe Brown. If you guys stay in the minutes like that, he outscored you, and granted it's a garbage time, but he outscored you. And he also got 3 assists out there. So for me, I blame Harden. And then I'll let you speak here in a sec. And then we didn't show a long time. I gotta put some blame on Steve Ballmer. Yes. He got two dudes in the mid 30s paying big money too. They don't got a young guy that you can hit the reset button with to build around. I'm looking at this roster now. Bogdanovich is like 31 or something like that. Batum, mid-30s as well. Zubac's like getting close to 30. Norman Powell. Norman Powell. Oh, wow. Norman Powell's 31.
I thought he was younger.
Me too. So, all things considered, you better play your young guys like that, like Kobe Brown, for example, to get him developed and why not to be at least a key role player for y'all. I blame Ballmer in this, and he's done a great job with the Clippers. Let's not take that away from him. Got the new arena down in Inglewood. We saw the video. He brought fans to the game, to Denver. Paid for all that good stuff. So, I mean, how many owners doing that in professional sports? You know what I'm saying? Not just NBA, professional sports. I mean, me and you, like our NFL team, our owners probably ain't gonna be doing that. So, but I say it like this, and some of y'all probably listening and saying, "Where you getting at?" Well, like I said, where did this team go in the future? Like you alluded to, Kawhi Leonard. Great that he was healthy this postseason run, but how long is that going to hold up? James Harden, great player, future Hall of Famer, but you can't depend on him to carry your team to a championship, especially at this age. So I don't know where to go from here. Steve Ballmer in the past said he doesn't want to rebuild and stuff like that, but the team, same team, the same area code, just about. The Lakers, granted, they got bounced in the first round too, but they got at least a young superstar right there they can build around in his prime.
Yeah.
The Suns, at least they got Devin Booker there. The Warriors, we'll see what they do in their future and whatnot. But it's the Kings, the haters in the mess. But at least they got Sabonis to have there. So my point I'm getting at is like, where did the team go from here after this loss? And where's the point in time you got like look around, do a hard reset, and kind of rebuild yourself? That's my point. Because OKC, young team. San Antonio Spurs, young team. Nuggets, group of guys in their prime. Joker's best player in the league, ain't going nowhere for a little while. So for the Clippers, they're in a tough spot right now. And I don't know where they're going to go. If they got young guys that I'm confident they can build around in the future, cool. But right now, they not got anything right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead.
I think that, again, I think we're on the same page with blaming James Harden. Big time. He played a huge part, but we've seen him have this act before. Many fans have. I think, having Kawhi at his best, again, you're not going to see that often. So I think it was not only James Harden, but this Norman Powell also, who didn't really show up too much. Like you said, what Ballmer is, like I said, what is next for this team? I mean, okay, like you said, you got these guys in mid-30s on the books. We do know that the career starts to slow down when you get to your mid-30s. You got to start looking for that young piece that you are building around. Mind you, they had a MVP candidate that they had on their roster at one point, but we're not going to go there with that. So, do we see this team possibly trying to make a move moving forward? Because, okay, we remember seeing the big news about AD getting traded to the Mavs and Luka going to the Lakers. Yes, plenty of Laker fans are disappointed that they lost to the Timberwolves. We get that. But on the brighter side, they have a piece that they can build around moving forward. Not only a player that they got to develop, they have a player that's going to be in the MVP discussion every year. And this is not something new for the older fans who watch the Lakers. They always had somebody coming up next. They always had somebody coming. They're doing the same thing that they usually do of having somebody else come around when the time is right. And this is what makes the Lakers continue to be the best team in LA and one of the better competitive teams in the league and in the West. They always have somebody. So yes, Laker fans were like, damn, like, AD was who he was. We could have kept him. But you're not really tripping too much when you get the prize of Luka. But I say that to say the Clippers don't have that.
No.
So, okay, they can take the route of building through the draft, but they had the opportunity. They had SGA on their team. So now you get in a situation where what is next? So he put all of this effort, Ballmer did, in getting this, the stadium, getting the fans there, X, Y, and Z. I get it. But I think now, how do you continue to you got to make this team better now. You have to be consistent and competitive. So again, this blame is huge on the players, but also now the season is over. So what happens next? How do they continue to be competitive? And that is a question that the Clippers are going to have to answer. Because, right now, the Lakers' future look a hell of a lot better than the Clippers. That's just from what it is. Are we saying that Zubac is going to be the next one for them compared to Luka and the Lakers? No. So for me, and I think there's a lot of questions that it needs to be answered for the Clippers. They had their big three at one point. Did that huge press conference with Kawhi and Paul George there, thinking that this team was going to be the team that was going to be in the NBA Finals, and it never got done. So what do they do now? Do they make a move on, one of these up-and-coming stars to get to LA, which is probably something that they need to consider if they're trying to continue, being competitive with the Clippers. So I'll throw this out there. I don't think he is going to get moved for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if Trae Young is moved over the summer.
No, I can see that.
I definitely could. Now, who's in the running for it? I'm thinking the Clippers should have some type of thought process into it, however they need to get it done. Another person possibly is Giannis. I really wouldn't be surprised if, because now I'm looking at when is Dame coming back next year. So it makes it very interesting. And I say that just naming a few players. But I say that the Clippers need to be in the talk somewhere. Because again, as you said, you're paying James this money. Kawhi eventually is going to be done. And very inconsistent, as we know. Who's after that? Are you handing the key to your franchise to Norman Powell, who's 31?
I like Norman Powell.
Yeah, Chris Dunn. So the Clippers got a lot to answer to this summer.
So we'll put a bookmark on that and come back to that, because on the other side of things, I want to talk about the Lakers. I think it'll tie into a lot of things going around the league and whatnot, and talk about their payoff series loss and what they go from there. Talk about it in the bare minimum because we can go all day with the Lakers. So we'll take a break real quick. On the other side of things, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk about the Lakers, what's going on with them. Also, what happens with Giannis and the Bucks, and then kind of preview the Celtics-Knicks series that should be a very electric series in the second round. But this is Fast Break here live for iSports Radio, your week for all sports. We'll catch you on the other side.
Cleveland and Columbus sports fans, I've got the show for you. I'm Jen B, host of the Show of the Land right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. You want football? I've got the Browns, the Buckeyes, the Eagles, the Purple Raiders, and more for you. You want basketball? I've got the Cavs and the Charge for you. You want hockey? I've got the Blue Jackets and the Monsters for you. You want football, aka soccer? I've got the Crew and the Crunch for you. You want volleyball? I'm going to unleash the fury for you. You want more Cleveland and Columbus sports? I've got them all for you, from the majors to the minors to the college rinks. Catch me, Jen B, every week on the Show of the Land right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sport.
Hey sports fans, are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a down south education on Florida sports and athletics. It's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back, everybody. This is Fast Break here, live for iSports Radio, your direct for all sports. And before we get to the Lakers talk, D-Locke, shout out to the chat. Shout out to Sharon Rodriguez. How you doing tonight, sir? Shout out to Mikey Two Guns saying, let's go Celtics. Celtics have been very impressive for long in the playoffs. And then shout out to Marcus Los, great in the chat. Can't wait to hear Marcus' thoughts on Bud Crawford and Canelo fight coming up in September. That should be a good one right there. And then also Brian Frescione says, guys, check out me and Ricky's Celtics preview. Like I said, that series is going to be a barn burner. It's going to be great. And I definitely will check that out here in a little while. But D-Locke, no need for the dramatics. Laker talk. Lakers went out in 5 against the Timberwolves. I don't know how much to say. They got beat down. I think last week when I talked about this series, D-Locke, I said if the Wolves didn't come out lackadaisical in game 2, they could have swept them. And they came out lackadaisical in that first half of game 2. I think they would have swept them. And now, they handle their business in 5 and whatnot. My question to you, and we've seen how the storyline was the Lakers' lack of bigs and depth and stuff like that. It showed JJ playing, Finney Smith, LeBron, Luka, who was sick, mind you, in that game 3 matchup. Austin Reeves and who I'm missing? Rui Hachimura.
Mm-hmm.
He played those guys a lot in this series. I mean a lot. And then, the press conference before game 5, him being sensitive about the questioning and stuff like that. And, Charles Barkley, rightfully so, called him out on that. Like, hey, man, can't look to be the smartest guy in the room all the time. Everybody praise you. You got to take the lumps with the coaching as well. And people ask you in this journey of your coaching, about the questions you do. Because it's part of the process. And, we saw in game 5 that, hey, they went that small lineup again. They got roasted, to say the least.
Yes.
And I'm trying to pull up the stat line for that game from Wednesday. They lost 103-96. Luka Doncic had 28 points in that matchup. Rui Hachimura, 23 points, 22 for LeBron. Austin Reeves, who did not have the best series, we're going to be real about that, only had 12 points. Finney Smith had 7.
He struggled.
I'll defend Finney Smith as this. I'll defend Finney Smith in this. Like, I think he was out there to be their main defensive ace. I got to defend Finney Smith. Finney Smith give me 20 points a game, which would be great. But if depending on him to give me 20 points a game, then something's wrong. Then on the bench, only Maxi Kleber 2 points, who didn't play all year and gave them 2 points, and Vanderbilt 2 points as well. On the side for Minnesota, D-Locke, Rudy Gobert probably one of his better playoff games in his career, 27 points, 24 rebounds for him, 2 blocks on that side. Julius Randle, who I talked about last week, has to play smart in this elimination game to close it out. He played smart for the most part, but, got a foul trouble early, but he bounced back strong in the second half. So I got to give Julius Randle his flowers there, that he came back strong in that second half. Not pick up in foul trouble again and help out the Wolves and help close out that game. Edwards had 15 points, not his best game either, but almost a triple-double in that sense. Mike Conley had the dagger 3 in the corner in that fourth quarter there. DiVincenzo and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 19 points between them. Nas Reed only had 3 points off the bench. D-Locke, after saying all that long-winded stuff, your thoughts of the Lakers getting beat down in 5 games?
I'll start off by saying this, and then I'll go on my spiel about it. I seen Mark Williams put a tweet out, which meant a lot, right? I think that trade that did not go through hurt the Lakers. I'm not going to say to go to the NBA Finals, but I think in this juncture, in this situation, listen to this stat. I hope everybody, all 93 people, hear me when I say this. Rudy Gobert, this is game 5. 39 minutes, 24 rebounds. 24 rebounds. 24. So Jackson Hayes, he didn't even get in the game.
No.
So you're real big down there is Finney Smith and Max Kleber. Knowing you're playing a team with Rudy Gobert, and Nas Reed. What I'm saying is bigs that clearly are towering over everybody else that you have. So I say that I think Dalton Kennett didn't get in the game either.
No, he ain't playing all series. I think for some garbage time in game 1.
Exactly. So I think that trade might have played a slight part in it. If it could have been 2 games, maybe 2 more games, or it could have been to win the series. Who knows? Too many bigs down low. And remember, I said, rewind to what I said about the Nuggets. The team that they gave the Nuggets issues was the Timberwolves with the bigs that they had. Nas Reed, Gobert, and Karl-Anthony Towns. So this team, I believe, to be honest with you, the trade between the Knicks and the Timberwolves was a hell of a pickup for the Timberwolves. And the reason why is because, yes, you still got your big and Rudy Gobert, who we know is a defensive defensive center, who Shaq just doesn't like. But regardless, he's a good defender. He's a pretty good defender. You still got Nas Reed. Cool. But now what you add is Julius Randle. And he had a hell of a series, man, to be honest with you.
Yes, he did.
This series, he just seemed like he was literally doing whatever the hell he wanted. And although he's not towering up like a Karl-Anthony Towns, I mean, this matchup was geared towards their strengths and the Lakers' weaknesses, which is bigs, right? That's what we've seen. We've seen Julius Randle eat damn near every day. We've seen Nas Reed eat basically every game. And then Gobert finished it off with a game that he probably would never have in his life again.
Oh, he'll have that game. He'll have that game again.
Yeah, it'll come in spurts, right? So for me, I think that my biggest thing is, again, future-wise, the Lakers are fine. They got the guy that could build around. They maybe plug some pieces around. We get that. But for now, at this moment, to get one win, which you said, obviously we see that if the Timberwolves didn't come out like a days ago, it could have been a sweep. I talked about this series the last time I was here. A couple of weeks ago, I said this series is going to be a very tough series because of the depth that this team has. And that's what caused issues throughout this whole series. I mean, even though we didn't see Ant-Man go crazy every game, we damn so seen Julius Randle have the game that he wanted. We seen Jaden McDaniels have games that he wanted. So for me, I just feel like I can't say this team was underestimated. I just think that the strength that the Timberwolves have was matched up perfect against the Lakers. You know, they put Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns together just recently. Why would they trade them? Oh, and they got Julius Randle. How's that going to work? Well, that matchup literally worked perfect for the Timberwolves against the Lakers. I mean, this is a perfect matchup for them. They could not do anything against a team with a forward and these 2 centers. I mean, you don't have anybody. I mean, okay, Max Kleber, Jared Vanderbilt, who didn't do too much. Kleber had 5 minutes. Gabe Vincent, that just did not work. I think it's probably time to move on from Gabe Vincent. And Jackson Hayes, who didn't even get in the game. Who else are you going to put in there? Alex Len didn't get in. So this matchup was a perfect matchup for the Timberwolves. Now, I thought that the Lakers would get more wins out of this. I just felt like LeBron was not going to let that happen, but we are talking about a 40-year-old LeBron, not a one. You know what I mean? A 30. This is a different LeBron that we're seeing. He's doing what he can do. And also, I honestly feel like Luka don't play no damn defense. That's just what that is. So I kind of seen this. I'm not gonna say I've seen this happening when they made the trade, but I can see the trade for Luka was about the future and not just now. But we as fans did caught up in the huge improvement that they made when they got Luka. the jump that they made getting to the playoffs. So damn, they made this huge jump, in the playoffs. Like this team might be able to do something now, but they ran up into a team that exposed them badly. And okay, take this one to the chin, and now you have your main piece moving forward. Now, what happens with LeBron? That's something that has to be discussed. I think he comes back. But you have your person that you can, and Luka, your athlete, who you can move forward with. This series just was kind of a honest. You can look at it and say, "Oh, damn, this ain't a good matchup for the Lakers." Guards don't eat against the Timberwolves. So in my mind, looking at it from series to series or game to game, okay, Anthony Edwards, as we know, is going to be one of the top guys in the NBA. We know that. But he's not the only one on that team. And I said that on the show. He's not the only one. They got all these other guys that can come in and get you points when you need it. I think another big piece of was Devin Cheezer, who can go out there and cook when he needs to. But that wasn't needed as much because of how much damage Julius Randle, Gobert, and Naz Reid did. And the reason why is not because I think it's just the depth. It's just the Lakers simply don't have nobody back there, and they don't have any bigs. Really don't. So some of these guys that you kind of, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I think they're going to make a move on some bigs over this offseason. But to tailor back to what I said earlier, I think that Mark Williams trade, I think that probably got him out of the NBA playoffs a little earlier than expected.
I'll answer this question here now. I'll give my thoughts real quick. Terry Reagan's brought up. Do you think the failed Mark Williams trade hurt the confidence of Gabe Vincent and Dalton Kennett? Yeah, well, it kind of showed it hurt the confidence of Dalton Kennett because he took off next week. So it hurt his confidence. But to hurt the confidence of the whole team and stuff like that, with those two guys, I don't think so. I mean, yeah, it hurt Dalton, but he got to shake that off. And now Dalton got his head knows, like, okay, well, the way things went in this series and whatnot, you're on the chopping block. So he should be prepared for that this summer, just in case. Now, I also want to talk about Mark Williams real quick. And Justice, I can't remember real quick. Mr. Williams, I'm looking at you right now.
Yes.
You ever happen to see this? Dude, you in the Charlotte Hornets. You barely have played some. Never played 450 games yet in this NBA career so far. You no room to be talking shade, throwing shade at anybody right now. I'm sorry, I had to say that. They do have no room to be throwing shade at the Lakers. You have no room to show shade like that when a team get cold feet about your medicals. Yeah, they could have took a chance on you, but they didn't take a chance on you because damn. First of all, I always knew that I always knew they overpaid for him. Once they saw when the Hornets trade the other center, what's his name, Nick Richards to the Suns,
right?
And they only gave up like a second-round pick and the other center, Jerkic, who didn't want to be there, and Kogi and a second-round pick. I saw that as a damn. The Lakers overpaid for him, and both of those dudes were first-round picks, mind you. I saw that Lakers gave up that in the first-round pick. I said, no, that's too much for him. The dude that can't stay healthy. Dude plays for Hornets. Why are we giving away a first-round pick for that? To a team to the Hornets that won't do diddly poo with that first-round pick. So to Mark Williams, dude, shut up. And I also say this on our show's account. If I'm the Lakers, I will not entertain that, go down that route again. I will not revisit that. Because he kind of showed, and I don't know if he saw this or not, but there's been reports about his immaturity that's coming to question. So you got that going on where he tweeted out and stuff like that. Yeah, if I'm the Lakers, I stay far away from that dude. If you give him the cheap, fine, whatever, do you gotta do. But he ain't the first person I called up in the summer to try to make a trade for a big. Secondly, to JJ Redick. Dude, this is not the things, this is coaching, man. You gotta roll the punches, you gotta live and die with your decisions. If you gotta stick with your guns. You felt confident rolling those 5 guys, for the most part in the series, just say that. If people question you, you can't get in the huff and walk out and whatnot. If you can't handle the heat, you're not going to be long in the coaching profession. Well, I'm not saying long in the coaching profession, but I say long in the NBA. Because the NBA it's a long season, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long season.
That's before the playoffs.
Yep, that's before the playoffs. If you're gonna do this, man, go to college. I mean, John Shai got Duke locked up for a while, so you can't go there. But hell, there are places that should be open up here soon after next year that you could go to. So JJ Redick, man, you got roll with the punches, man. That's how coaching can be.
And you're at the Lakers. You know what I mean? This is a top franchise. This is Lakers, Cowboys, Yankees. You know what I mean? This is where you are. You gotta understand what comes with that. So I think us as normal people, shall I say, we probably see social media and see mentions and stuff like that and can read into them. But big players, coaches, it's probably best for a lot of you guys to kind of stay off socials because you're going to see all kind of crap, man, like from good to bad. If you read into a lot of this stuff, and some of it may be good, some of it may be bad, some may be positive, negative, but reading all of that stuff, it can get into your head big time. And knowing that you're at one of the most historic franchises in sports history, period, you have one bad game, they're going to be calling for you to be let go. It's just different things that go with it. So you got to understand what comes with it. Yes, you're the Lakers head coach, but yes, you are the Lakers head coach.
Yeah.
That's what you are, Los Angeles Lakers. You know what I mean? So got to roll with the punches. If that means, some people, like I said, can do the social media. If that means stay off of it, you got to do that. That's just something that's probably best. Watching the ESPN and looking at what they're saying on NBA Countdown, X, Y, and Z, what Stephen A. Smith is saying, all these other people. Sometimes you may have to take a step from that if it's impacting you that deep.
Hell, I could throw other places, Man U, Chelsea, or in the football side of things. If you have one of those jobs, you pressure to win.
Mm-hmm.
The
Cowboys, the
Cowboys, Jets, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Knicks. You in that place, man. And I think he's been around long enough that he should know this. But I chalk it up to first year coaching and stuff like that. But next year around, it's got to be a little bit better. But to the series real quick. Me and my dad talked about this before Game 5. I thought at least they should start Jared Vanderbilt, throw him in there and see what we can get starting wise, and throw in Finney Smith off the bench and whatnot. Vanderbilt did play, but I thought he would get more extended time, but that didn't happen. Like you mentioned, like Gabe Vincent, I think it's time to sell on that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's guys coming out in the draft in college who's like 4-year players that can come in and produce the same way he did. Now, I mentioned that like that because D-Lock, as a Laker fan, I'm not confident that Rob Pelinka can build his roster.
Mm.
And the only reason I say that, I think the Luka trade, he was kind of gifted that Luka trade. Because the reports would be true that Nico Harrison shopped Luka to other places first before he got to the Lakers, then I don't think he could build a roster around him. Because look what we're talking about now. JJ has about 3 big men that he didn't play in that last game. Jackson Hayes, Alex Lynn, and James Kidd. Didn't play him at all. Do I got confidence in Rob Pelinka to find somebody or draft somebody? You know? He traded a small, promising, good role player in Connect for a big guy that barely stay on the court.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he took a flyer on Gabe Vincent last season, who didn't do too much. And now, you know, this year, you know, his play was, you know, so-so for the most part. You know, I love Luka. Hopefully he does great. But, you know, I saw some highlights of him of his first couple of years on X the other day. Like 2 different players in a sense. Get up to the court, running and jumping, tip dunks, 2-hand dunks. Slimmer. The body was slimmer and whatnot. So there's a lot of work doing all season. I know everything's not built in a day, whatnot, but some things gotta get changed. I know you mentioned about Gabe Vincent being gone. I think maybe time to start sell high on Austin Reeves.
Yeah.
And then I know LeBron's come out and say he won't take a pay cut, but dude, if you want a nice solid roster around you, you may have to come off $10 million. And I ain't trying to tell you take. That's easy for me to say on here on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey LeBron, you know, just take $10 million off.
Let's borrow some of your paper. Yeah.
Like, you know, you got enough money as it is. $10 million ain't much, especially in California. They tax the hell out of you anyway. So what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
That's easy enough for me to say. But having said that, if I don't know when he's trying to retire, but if you want to try and go out with a bang with the Lakers, you may have to make some sacrifices.
Got to come off some bread
or something. You had to come out to some. You had to sacrifice something. If you want to come in next season, make you $50 million plus, that's cool. But yeah, some sacrifices have to be made if you want to make this team stronger.
Yeah. Especially with the season coming around.
Yep. And the only thing I worry about D-Lock with this Laker team, everybody knows they need big. And how much you're going to squeeze out the front office for that big. Like, I ain't look at the free agent roster for the summer. I saw a couple names like Jericho Sims out of the Bucks, who could be a good guy, the guy who can really leap up and play above the rim. But other than that, trade wise, I looked. I don't see. There's guys available, but what's the price?
Yeah, I'm looking at a couple of them now. And as we speak, I was just glancing at a couple bigs. You know, Clint Capella is one of them. Brute Lopez. But looking at the money that they're making, I don't see them coming off too much to drop down to, Miles Turner is one. Surprisingly, but I think Nasri is a player option. So you got a couple people up in there that they can consider, but they need to, again, not to cut you off, but that's something that they're lacking is, that big that makes that impact. So do they attack that in a free agency? And like you said, can Pelinka put this team together? Because to your point, again, Jackson Hayes and Alex Lynn, what they're doing, what? As my uncle would say, they're there to keep the bench from flying off the ground. That's it. You got Finney Smith down there playing center at what, 6'7", 6'8"? Come on. You know what I mean? So, as they say, make it make sense. There's a few pieces down there, like you said, but the question remains, I believe, is can Pelinka put a good roster together? And we don't see that.
Like some names I looked at right now, you mentioned Brook Lopez, but Brook Lopez is we're the same age. We're 37. Clint Capella could be an option there. He's an unrestricted free agent. Miles Turner, I think he will sign with the Pacers. I don't think he'll go anywhere. And then Kevon Looney. That could be an option there. We'll see.
What is he? 5? He's 5'11". I'm sorry, not 5'11". He's 6'11", or he's 6'10".
I think he's about 6'9".
Yeah. I'll pass if it was me.
Earmark that one right there. Then Andre Drummond, who's been playing for the league minimum for the past few years, he got a player option with the Sixers, and who knows, he might be back with them, may not. I don't know. Now after that, you got like Thomas Bryant for the Pacers, who was with the Lakers before. I mean, that's Charles Bassey, Jericho Sims, Paul Reed. But he's like 6'8", 6'9", same height as Kevon Looney.
Mm-hmm.
That's really about it.
Yep. Not many.
So, that's it. On the power forward list, Larry Nance, he's a free agent. Chris Boucher from the Raptors. Precious Acuña from the Knicks. It's a solid option, but kind of wrap up the Lakers talk. Shout out to the Timberwolves. They came in and did their thing. As the Warriors and Rockets match go on, with the Warriors up by 10 right now.
Ooh.
Going to close to halftime with 3 minutes left. I wonder who would be the better matchup for the Timberwolves. To me, I think, if the Warriors hang on to win this game, I think, it'd be a good matchup for the Timberwolves because their size.
Yep.
Gobert, 7'2". They still playing that small lineups and stuff like that. They can take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing you have to worry about is Rudy having PTSD going against Draymond and whatnot. But Julius Randle been playing balls out. I mean, lights out. Can he? And my thing with Julius Randle, can that continue throughout? Because at some good spurts, he was playing good basketball. And after that, sometimes come back to earth and he'll just play like blah.
Yeah, disappear.
But, for the Wolves, I think you better see the Warriors and take advantage of that size and stuff and whatnot. And, Edwards being that dude like we seen before. And I think, you look at the Wolves team that potentially get back to the Western Conference Finals. Now, who they will meet there, we'll see. But I think for this Wolves team, they got a good chance to kind of go if they play the Warriors before 1, potentially again, if they play the Rockets, it'll be, I think, a different story because Sengun and Steven Adams staying low. Also on that free agent list, Steven Adams is a free agent as well.
I did see that.
So that's a name. If you're the Lakers, that's a name to keep an eye on right there. If you're a Laker fan, that's kind of keep an eye on there. Steven Adams, free agent. I don't know how much it will cost, but that's something to keep an eye on. But going back to Timberwolves, this is a team that kind of started off rocking in the beginning of the year, came back strong. Julius Randle kind of really found himself after the first part of the year. And, it seemed like the trade for the Knicks and Timberwolves worked out for both sides. The Timberwolves gained an extra role player. They got a starter. Things has gone very well for them. And the continued growth with guys like Edwards, Jaden McDaniels has really gone a long way for the Timberwolves. And then, like for the Knicks, Town's been great for them. Along with their pieces they got. So it's like a win-win for both of those teams. And now, with Towns there, for the Knicks, played great through the series for Detroit, played tough. Jalen Brunson with the icing in the cake against Thompson on that 3-point shot. And real quick on that series, Boston and New York. Who do you got in that series? Because that's a tough one right there for me.
I would say, I think that it's hard to go against the NBA champs. I'll say that I think that this is something that could go either way. I think the Knicks put up a big fight. What I do like about this Knicks team is also the core guys that they do have. These guys have been playing together for some time, even a few of them before, being with the Knicks. But I think boy, the big piece, we talked about the trade earlier with Julius Randle to the Timberwolves and how it benefited them. I think this trade with Karl-Anthony Towns to the Knicks has made this a 7-game series. I think he's been playing outstanding. I'm going with Boston. I mean, I think as the Knicks are going to be very good, but again, I think the Boston Celtics are the defending champs. I think they bring too much, and know what's at stake. This is going to be a hell of a series, but I definitely got Boston winning in 7.
Drew Holiday may play in Game 1 tomorrow in the Garden, or where they call it now, in Boston. If he plays, I think they'll factor in a lot of things. I worry about Game 1 in this series because it seems like, against Orlando Magic, Boston comes out strong and kind of really sets the tone in their series for the past couple of years. So I can envision, Boston winning big in Game 1 with Taylor and Jaylen Brown having big games and Peyton Pritchard come in and scoring 15 off the bench. I can see that. But I think we saw what we saw in the offseason with the Knicks. I think they with the guys they traded in and whatnot, with the Bridges, Towns, whatnot. I think they set it up to match up for this series. I think they made these moves for the series. Would they love to keep Davidson show to strengthen that bench? Hell yes. Yes, I believe they do. I think that's the sacrifice you had to make for deals like that. But I got the Knicks winning game 1. And I got the Knicks winning 6. I think if like Holiday ain't fully healthy, I think Bronson could take advantage of that. I think the Knicks bench is a little bit better than Boston's. But man, I think the main factor to me is Karl-Anthony Towns. Can he play strong throughout the whole series? Can he take advantage of Porzingis, who always seems like he's not 100%? And then also, can you not let a guy like Al Horford, Peyton Pritchard, Hauser come in and have big games on you? I think that's one thing the Knicks got to do. They, shut that noise out. And also on the other side for the Knicks, can guys like OG and Miles have big games? Miles Bridges had a nice game. What's the game? It was a game 4, I believe I was talking about it. Yeah. We had made 2 threes against Detroit in the corner. Hit big 6 points right there in the fourth quarter. If he got games like that, I think go long way for the Knicks. Josh Hart continue to do his thing. Don't worry about social media and stuff like that. So I got the Knicks in 6. I think they built this roster for this series here.
Ooh.
I think they built this roster for this series here.
Ooh.
Now, can Boston win the series? Yeah. Tatum and Brown can go off, and prove us wrong. But I think I'm going to stick my guns on this. I think they Leon Rose and company, they made these moves for this series. I think that's what they had envisioned. I don't think they expected the Cavs to be where they are today this season. I think they kind of did for this series here. And they're getting this series a little earlier than expected. But give me the Knicks in 6. You got Boston 7, right?
I got Boston in 7. I think this is going to be a series that's going to come down to these two teams are talented. I think it's put together extremely well. It's going to, like you said, it's going to come down to Karl-Anthony Towns. I really think that this team is going to be tough, man. Another name to watch out for in this series is OG and Anunoby. The reason why I said he's going to have a tall task with Jason Tatum. So this is going to be one to watch for. Much as we want to say, obviously Jalen Brunson's going to have to be Jalen Brunson, but the defense that Anunoby is going to have to bring is going to be very, very huge. So I think this is going to be a series to watch.
Yeah, I think a series to watch there, and a series that's going to be great for the league with the Lakers out, Clippers out in LA. I think the league needed this matchup here between the Knicks and the Sixers. I mean, the Knicks and the Celtics, excuse me. So before we get out here, D-Locke, I know you brought this up. Giannis. Before we get out here, Giannis, the Bucks went out against the Pacers. And the lasting image of, I thought Steph going to make that half-court shot. But anyways, the lasting image of Giannis in that series against the Pacers. Well, the first video I saw was him going to Bennett Mathurin and went to hug him, but then they, kind of like holding his head kind of tight, whatever, and thought he was gonna choke him and whatnot. I was like, damn, dude, what's wrong with you? Like, I kind of hold him like, I wish you would say something. And then this is before the other video got out. He'll get into Tyrese Halliburton's dad's face, you know, and we didn't know his dad till, you know, people pointed at that's Tyrese Halliburton's dad and whatnot, getting in his face as well. And then the video came out some hours later. Halliburton's daddy left the stands, went to the court. Yeah. Went to the court and got in Giannis's face, and Giannis was really contemplating like cold-cocking this dude. But he thought better of it. But to talk about the series real quick, D-Locke, Dame went out with the Achilles. Some of the role players didn't play well. I mean, Giannis played great, but everybody else is kind of Gary Trent had a good game in the series. But Kuzma didn't play well. In fact, all those things. Brook Lopez, 37. Doc Rivers is your coach.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you stand on Giannis's future with the Bucks?
I mean, with the situation with Dame coming around, I think now you're looking at it like there's a good chance that Giannis could consider other options.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, getting Dame there for Giannis was huge, but we're looking at him being gone for at least a year. You know, I don't think he comes back anytime. I don't think he comes back during the season. You know, that Achilles injury is one that takes long enough. So let's look at Giannis is 30. So do I see him sitting and waiting along for another year to kind of get things back to see if Dame is going to be who Dame is? I doubt it. Kyle Kuzma was absent this whole series.
Yeah.
So for me, I think the biggest thing is now where does he consider? And who puts the best package together for him? So I think it's a chance that he leaves, but I think the only way that we see Giannis go somewhere is if it's the destination that he wants. He doesn't go somewhere just to be traded. He's going to go to where he wants to go. But if I had to give it a percentage, give it 85% that he stays in Milwaukee. The reason why I give that high percentage, I think that as much as we are talking, it's fresh. You know what I mean? They just freshly lost, obviously. But he's won the championship there. I'm pretty sure, he enjoys his time there. I know he wants to win. But I think they move pieces around. I don't think we see Doc Rivers there any longer. But different conversation for a different day. I think that, being the fact that Giannis is their guy, they're going to try to do anything possible to make sure that he stays. So I don't think he really leaves. Like, I think it's a slim chance. Again, the biggest problem that I have with this is that it's the fact that it's in question. The fact that it's even thought about that he can possibly leave. Like, usually you don't see your stars having that. Well, damn, it's another offseason. Are they going to leave? Do we have to worry? That's something that you don't really see too much often, but we're seeing it with Giannis again. So my thing is I don't think he does. But if so, it had to be the deal that they can't turn down, or someone Giannis just has been dying to go to that spot, that destination.
Yeah, I think for me, it's tough to say. Dang going out the Achilles and possibly miss the next year. And then the roster construction, while they had got some guys on the cheap very well. I do wonder if they can build around him properly. I mean, you sold high on Chris Middleton, on a younger player in Kuzma, but he didn't do nothing for you. And you have to wonder if you go improve his roster around Giannis, do you ship Kuzma out or kind of ride it out until the trade deadline next year? You know, you got to look at getting a point guard, a younger one, and that too. Dame's like 34, 35. You know, you should look to bring back Gary Trent, who's good for y'all on that front. Brook Lopez, like I said, he's 37. You can't keep him around, but can you sell high on him?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the main thing, coaching. We've seen this thing. We talked about this over time, past couple years. They pushed out Adrian Griffin when he's above 500. Reasons we still don't know why. Now we're in kind of like full season Doc Rivers, and there's been moments in the series that Doc Rivers coaching kind of reared his ugly head. If you're Giannis, do you stay here? Do you try to, let's say, hey, can we do something make better than Doc Rivers? Maybe he likes Doc Rivers. We don't know that. You know? But if you're Giannis, Dame is out for a year. You've done what you can with this current roster, Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, and others. If I had to give percentage, man, I'll give him 60% to step. About 65% to say. Because I think he likes Milwaukee and stuff like that. Hell, you see pictures out here walking to the store and stuff like that with his kids. You know, like it's nothing. So I think he kind of, you know, like that and stuff like that. You know, he couldn't do that in LA. I know that for sure. But for me, for him to leave, it's got to take it may look like it got to take a lot. To where, I don't know. You know, it seems like Miami's always been interested in him. You know, we heard like the rumors about the Brooklyn Nets. I saw a story about an article that Bleacher Report posted about that. And some of the trades just look like trash. We're going to be real about that. Other ones look kind of decent, but nothing that'll make me pull the trigger on doing it. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, just give me Noah Clowney and a few first-round picks. We'll make that happen. No. If you're going to trade for Giannis, you got to get something back. But for me, I think he still stays in Milwaukee unless whatever happens with him and management that he decides to go elsewhere. But at least you have last word.
I mean, I think the biggest thing with this is what package deal is being sent for Giannis and the destination. You know, I've seen people put Giannis in a Lakers uniform.
That's not going to happen.
What package deal can the Lakers send Milwaukee to get Giannis? I've even seen him in a Spurs uniform.
Yeah.
What package deal does the Spurs send for Giannis? So, for me, it's where he wants to go. And does it make sense for Milwaukee? Giannis is what? Second, maybe third best player in the league. And it's a stretch to put him third. So for me, it is a chance that he could leave. It's just, it has to make sense on both ends. And now we're looking at how talented these teams are, how they're building their teams. You got Orlando who have their piece right now in Banchero. So they're not going to really make no moves around. They're going to try to build around Banchero rather than trade him away. We talk about the Clippers. The Clippers who need that future. What package could they send Milwaukee? So again, he possibly can be moved, but the problem is it has to make sense on both ends. And not only that, like I said, you're looking at the Pelicans who we're talking about possibly moving Zion. So it has to make sense. I think that the biggest thing I believe though is knowing that Dame is going to be there for you. I don't think Giannis is going to be okay with just hey, actually worse than you were without Dame. Before the trade. So now Dame is gone. I mean, who you gonna rely on? Ryan Rollins, Gary Trent, Taurean Prince, these guys. So it's gonna be very interesting to see what deal can be sent to Milwaukee, and they can say, "Well, hey, let's actually really consider this."
I'll leave you on this note. Man, it's tough to say, but you're kind of looking in their division. Just kind of keep it there. The Bulls may have something in Josh Giddey and Kobe White playing off guard. There's something there between those two. I think figure something on that front court, whatnot. But there's something there, at least for those two guards. Cleveland seemed like the most complete team in that division, even though they got beat by the Pacers today. Same team in the division as well. But got two teams that are very deep top to bottom. Detroit, shout out to JB Bickerstaff, kind of like turn that team around. That team right there has got good mix of young dudes, vets, and kind of just like bench guys that can come in and play. Milwaukee, I don't think you say that too much about them. Granted, they got Giannis. Granted, they got Dame. But after that, I mean, Bobby Porter's nice. I ain't going to miss that. Dismiss that. But the past several years in the draft, they kind of took guys that are kind of like high ceiling. I won't say high ceiling, but kind of like guys that hope to turn into good role players, but they really kind of. I mean, AJ Green kind of coming around, but some of the other guys they kind of took in the first round, we kind of barely heard anything about them. And that's why you kind of see the past couple of years taking the flyers on, Taurean Prince, Gary Trent to convince him to sign a cheap deal and whatnot. Trade for Kuzma, who didn't give you nothing. So if you're Giannis, yeah, you can go back to next season and roll these dudes, but you're not winning the championship. You possibly got 3 teams in your own division that could be better than your team. So it'd be like they really see what Milwaukee does in off season. Do they tell Brook Lopez to walk and get somebody younger, like some of the free agents we were with earlier, like Steven Adams, Pitt Capella, and others? So we'll see how things shake out for the Bucks, in my opinion, and whatnot. In our opinion, and whatnot. Before we get out here, D-Locke, the Rockets, Warriors at halftime. The Warriors up right now. Who do you got winning the second half?
Like I said, I'm not gonna back down what I say. I think again, I think Houston fights back. They gotta fight back. This is where I said, in order for them to win, they gotta have that fight. I think they come out ready to go. Buddy Hield's on fire right now. I think that kind of slows down just a little bit. I think the Rockets hold out the second half.
I think the way guys like Buddy Hield been shooting, Steph Curry been shooting. I think the Warriors pull through. Now, it won't surprise me if the Rockets go on a run. But Buddy Hield's been shooting the lights out. Draymond Green, surprisingly shooting well from three-point land. And Curry, the shooting can be better, but we'll see how they go in the second half. But this has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight. Lots to talk about. We went in deep tonight. Could win a lot deeper, but sometimes you got to put a cap on it. But D-Lock, how can people find you on social media?
You guys definitely find me at Black-813. Throwing a couple tweets out there about a couple things, especially with the NBA season going how it's going. I'll let you know they can find you on the show's page.
As you can see right there, the show's page at Fast Break IESR. That's Fast Break IESR. Also, do follow me on Twitter /X at Spawn4288. That's Spawn4288. Also, do follow us on iSports Radio on X/Twitter, where you'll find it, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Do follow us on the social media accounts. Do go to iSportsRadio.com for all your shows. All your news, show times, and all that stuff, and socials as well. Do follow our page at iSportsRadio.com/fastbreak. Do give us a follow there as well. Also, I do know a show on the side called the Crooks Process. Do follow my pages on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I find Change the Header on TikTok. So do give me a follow on those sites as well. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, more playoff talk. The WNBA is around the corner and all that good stuff. Until then, talk to y'all next week with the next round of the playoffs in full swing. Talk to y'all later. Peace.